lunchtime webinar. Today's topic is on retirement planning. All right. And since the time now is exactly 12 o'clock, so we shall start on time. Otherwise, I will be really standing between you and lunch, just in case you have not taken your lunch. All right. Okay. My name is Felicia, and I shall be the speaker for today to bring you through this topic on the realities of retirement. So before I start, just a quick introduction of Money Owl, just in case this is your first time and you are not aware of who Money Owl is. Okay, we are a social enterprise, all right, together with all the other social enterprises that you can see on the screen under NTUC Enterprise, managed under by NTUC Enterprise. And like all other social enterprises, our mission is to provide the best to the common Singaporeans. And for us, all right, our mission is to help Singaporeans better prepare, not only for the future, but in the current situation, to have better financial wellness. And financial talks like what you're attending today is to help you increase your financial knowledge so that you are able to make better, hopefully you're able to make better money decisions. And many of you will probably have heard in the news that by the end of this year, we will actually be exiting the business. So all our current clients that has purchased insurance or invested with us, they will be handed over to iFAST and continue managed by iFAST. And for today, however, we do have our platform that is still available for you to use. One of it is the comprehensive financial planning that you can use until 15th of December. And I really strongly encourage everyone to at least complete your comprehensive financial planning before December. All right. And of course, the other robo that is still available for everyone to use for free would be the Will Robo. Okay. All right. Just a important disclaimer. So after the session, if you find that you do need to review your financial plans or retirement plans or investment portfolio, do seek advice from a competent and reliable financial advisor. If you do not have anyone, you can contact us. All right, drop us an email. I will show you a QR code where you can actually book appointment with our client advisors who will be able to help you answer any questions that you may have on for your financial planning. Okay, now, so what we were talking about today is that now for retirees, does it mean that if I work all the way to retirement and accumulate this big pool of money, I can actually just sit back and relax and spend? Okay, sadly, if you look at the topic today, the answer is no. The realities of retirement simply means that even after we're retired, there will continue to be risks that that will have an impact on us, and we have to continue to manage them. And of course, part of it today, then we will look at CPF, not in detail, but it's just to ask ourselves, because from the day one when we start work, we all know that CPF is meant for retirement. So how far can our CPF mitigate this risk? Okay, how far can it help us? And is CPF alone enough for our retirement? So this is something that we will also explore. And of course, how we can actually redesign. If you already have a retirement plan, okay, how can we actually redesign this plan? All right, and so that we can have a sustainable retirement income stream and have a consistent retirement lifestyle. All right. Okay, so first thing first. All right, so what are the 5 risks that a retiree will face? Okay, first of all, these are the 5 risks, all right? Longevity risk, healthcare risk, inflation risk, investment risks, and overspending risk. And how can we actually manage these 5 risks? So let's look at longevity risk first. So according to Department of Statistics, the average, all right, mortality age for men is 81. For women tend to outlive men by about 5 years. So it's 86. So if I just take an average of these two gender, you'll be 80. So it's about 84, 85. So average mortality means that that is the average age that, people would live till. So that means that there will be people who will not live till 85. And then, of course, there will also be people who will be living beyond 85. So what is the probability? What is the chance that you and I will actually live beyond 85. All right, so according to study or according to statistics, half, all right, 50% of us will actually live beyond 85, and 1/3 of us will actually live beyond 90 years old. So the older we are, okay, the probability of living longer, because it's more our health situation, our health condition will make it more predictable whether would we live longer than the average age or not. So that's why as we grow older, this probability will also increase. Then the question is that, do we have enough savings to last us all the way till age 85 or even 90? And not forgetting that women will actually live longer. All right. Now, then the next thing is that as we live longer, some of you may have read the news, or if you have not, maybe you could read. There is a news article this morning in Channel News Asia, all right, about Singaporeans not actually living the blue zone. Are we in the blue zone? That means, are we actually living longer and at the same time healthier? All right, so sadly, the answer is no. Okay, according to a recent survey on how healthy are Singaporeans, it was found that the obesity has gone up. All right, and then we are taking more salt. They are also taking more sugar. So that means there are also higher number of people who has diabetes and high blood pressure. So although we are living longer, we are actually not living healthier. And according to NUH, half of the healthy Singaporeans may actually become severely disabled in their lifetime, either due to illness or could be due to just simply living too long. All right. And out of this group of people, all right, most of those people who suffer a severe disability, meaning you cannot do any 3 out of 6 activity of daily living, on average, people would probably live around 3 to 6 years. So that's where the median duration is. That means 4 years. That means within 4 years, these people who are in severe disability will actually pass away. But there will be 3 out of every 10 people, there will be 3 who could be in severe disability for more than 10 years. So that is where our national scheme comes in. So some of us here, you may have ElderShield, and majority, if you are below 40 years old, you actually, if you're above 30, then and below 40, you'll probably have your CareShield Life. You'll likely have your CareShield Life. So these are the national scheme who are actually going to take care of our long-term care needs. That means in the event should we suffer a severe disability, these programs or this national schemes is going to pay us $400 or $600, depending on which scheme that you have, as long as we remain in severe disability. But is this amount enough or not? Then it really depends on the cost of care. It would very much depend on what is your preferred type of care. So of course, at the high end, if you want to stay in a nursing home, the current cost in a public nursing home is around about $3,000 to $4,000 if you do not qualify for any subsidy. And you think about it, if you're going to get just that $400, $600 from ElderShield or CareShield Life, you know that is actually a huge shortfall. And also don't forget that this is the current cost of care giving. Every year moving forward, there will always be inflation. That means this cost is not just going to be static. All right, you will increase over the years. So all the more, but then your payout, okay, your cost of care, or I mean your payout from your national scheme, your CareShield Life, may not be actually moving at the same rate. So again, so this is an area that you would probably have to think through on how you can manage this long-term care. Whether do you want to actually purchase a supplementary program, a CareShield Life supplementary program, to layer on the amount that is provided by the CareShield Life. Now, so inflation becomes an area that we would probably be the one of the greatest risks. In my opinion, okay, out of these 5 risks, inflation is probably the greatest risk that we have to keep a close lookout for, because it will definitely affect healthcare costs. Because as we grow older, as I mentioned, according to surveys and statistics, Singaporeans are not living healthier, okay? In fact, Singaporeans will live the last 10 years in ill health, meaning to say that they will need to see, even if you are not severely disabled, okay, they will still need to go to the doctor, they will still need to be hospitalized. And according to this survey, we are set to, our healthcare medical bill is set to increase by close to 10%, all right, this year. And if you look at the trend, all right, it will only be increasing over the years and not reducing, meaning to say that there will be a time that our healthcare medical bills, our cost may actually increase by more than 10% year on year. All right, so that is when we grow old. All right, if we don't live if we don't start trying to live a healthier lifestyle from today, when we grow old, the chances of us falling ill will be very high. I mean, all of you are in the healthcare sector. Some of you may be doctors or nurses. I'm quite sure you are well aware of that, and you're not immune to all this information as well. And of course, other than healthcare inflation having an impact on our healthcare costs, it will also have an impact on our lifestyle. So this is this chart is actually taken from the Singapore Department of Statistics. So they update the numbers every quarter. And so this is the latest, September, published in September just last month. So this table basically shows the core inflation. Okay, so what is core inflation? So core inflation basically takes away the accommodation, because not everybody sells house every other day, and takes away private transport because not every Singaporean owns a car. So basically it contains a basket of goods which are normally the essential spending. All right, so this 4.6% that you see here is the average, meaning the average inflation taking into consideration all the whole basket of goods. However, not every item will increase or at a different I mean every item will increase at a different rate. So that's why 4.6 is the average inflation. And you may have actually read in the news that, you know, oh wow, inflation rate has come down from the high. You know, for the first quarter it was about 6%, and now it's like 4.6, 4.1%. All right, but I think, I'm not sure about you, but for me, when I go to the food court, I don't actually see the prices actually coming down. All right, so inflation in fact will have a bigger impact on retirees more than working people. Okay, why? Because all of you at work, you know, you may get pay increment every year. So if your pay can increase by 4%, 4.6% every year, then you know that your standard of living will not be compromised, will not be affected by inflation, because your pay actually goes up at the same rate as inflation. However, it will have a greater impact for retirees, because as a retiree, we don't have any more future income to look forward to, okay? Because our income stops, we will stop working. So what we are living on is already on our existing asset, what we have accumulated so far. So that means if inflation remains high, our wealth, okay, our wealth will actually deplete at a faster rate. And if we look at retirees, what are the most common spending? Because this consumer price index is based on a basket of goods. All right, and what are the common, what are the essential items that retirees will spend on? Will be on food, all right, which gone up by 6%, 6.7%. Transport, because as retiree, we travel more often, all right, move around more, so and it gone up by 6.8%. And we know that this amount, these numbers, and same for utilities, our power bill, and we know these two numbers may continue to increase even more, because you may have heard in the announcement that our public transport fares will go up. All right, train fares will go up. Our utility bills will also go up by about 18% over the next 2 years. So that means this 6.8 or 4.6% may actually may end up be higher moving forward. And of course, most retirees also spend a lot of time in recreational activities, which also have gone up by 6.4%. And of course, not forgetting our healthcare, which has gone up by 4.3%. So out of these 5 essential spending of from a retiree standpoint, already there are 3 that exceed 6%. All right. Okay, so in other words, if my chicken rice today on average cost me $5, All right. And if inflation remains, say very optimistically, is at 4%, all right, 10 years from today, if I'm already retired, 10 years from today, I will actually need 740. Okay, my plate, the same plate of chicken rice will cost me more. All right. And of course, let's say if food inflation remains at 6%, then 10 years later, this plate of chicken rice will almost double. Okay, I will have to pay $9 for the same plate of chicken rice. Then, but don't forget, for retirees, because we don't have future income that we can save, so whatever we are spending is based on what we already have accumulated. Then you ask yourself, where do retirees normally put their money? Okay, let's say if your parents are already retired or your grandparents are retired, where do they normally put their money? Most of them will probably put in the bank. Okay, then you ask yourself, can your bank interest rate actually be giving you 4% or even 6%? All right, so that's the reason why, even as a retiree, it's important to invest, to stay invested. Now, however, many retirees don't invest because of investment risk. So it is a dilemma, okay, I would say, because investment carry risk. So they are afraid that they may lose the money. So, and we all know that because they really stopped working, if they lost the money, there's no way they can actually replenish that pool of money. So that's the reason why most of the retirees, they cannot stomach the kind of investment risk. They end up not investing at all and just putting in their money in the bank, thinking that, okay, it's a safe place. It is, but then with inflation, they are actually not, they're actually losing money as well. In other words, even if they don't invest, indirectly, they're actually losing money. They're actually losing to inflation. All right. And also the other risk that of inflation is a sequence of return risk. So what is sequence of return risk? So we look at two groups of people. All right. First group of people are accumulators, people like yourself who is still working. All right. So assuming today you invested 100,000 in a portfolio A, all right, and another 100,000 in the portfolio B. Then if you look at this table, you realize that these two portfolio, all right, one portfolio starts with a negative return and the other portfolio starts with a positive return. All right, and over the years, of course, our investment, we know that sometimes certain years we will do well, certain years we may not do well. Okay, so certain years it will go up, certain years it will go down. All right, so, but on average, you realize that if I hold on to these two portfolio over a period of 25 years, then you realize that on average, that means if I take the positive and the negative, I add them all together and I divide by 25 years, then you realize on average, I can still make 8%. All right, and so there's really no difference whether my portfolio starts off in a negative return or a positive return. The reason is because sequence of return is not, so-called like the sequence is, the order, right, of returns. That means positive or negative is not important if you're accumulating, simply because you're not taking out money. You are just putting the money in there and let it, let the market work on its own and then it go up, come down. But research have actually shown that over a long period of time, okay, more than 10 years, your investment would actually make a positive return. All right, that is what investment studies have shown. Okay, many studies have actually proven that over a long period of time, all investments will make money. Okay, a diversified investment portfolio will actually make money. All right, now then how about retirees? Because retiree is the whole reason why you're investing is because you want to accumulate a sum of money so that when you retire, you can withdraw. All right, so that's where sequence of returns will actually have an impact, will be important to retirees. Because if you were to withdraw when the portfolio is not making money, already your portfolio is making a loss and you still take out money, that means a double whammy. All right, already the value has gone down and you still take out money from it. All right, that means the remaining value will even be lower. All right, and over the years, okay, your portfolio will actually deplete much faster than you actually think about it, but that you actually want it to be. But whereas for the portfolio B, because it starts off with a strong positive return, so even if you have withdrawn 5%, all right, it's just a tip of the iceberg. It doesn't really affect the overall because the return is much higher than the amount that you withdraw, than the withdrawal rate. So that's why sequence of returns is important for retirees, because when you choose to withdraw from the portfolio will very much depend on whether your portfolio is making money or not. Okay, if it's in a positive return, it's okay to withdraw. But let's say if it's a negative return, then it's not okay to withdraw. So for most retail investors, like myself, okay, how would I know? Okay, if the portfolio is not doing well, okay, how do I, or even if my portfolio is having a positive return, how would I know whether if I were to withdraw 5%, would it have an impact or not? Okay, so that's the reason why to have a sustainable, if you want your investment portfolio to be able to sustain for a long time, you will need to have a withdrawal structure, we call it. All right, and I will talk to you, I will share more about what is this withdrawal structure going to be like. Now, then, of course, the last risk is overspending risk. Now, overspending risk, according to studies, young retirees, that means those people who retire at a younger age, maybe at 55 or 60 or 65, they tend to spend more, which is logical because they are fiscally more able, they are more socially more connected. All right. But as they grow older, they will actually tend to spend less because probably most of their friends no longer around. And then they themselves probably physically not so healthy, will also probably be staying home more. So that's why they will probably spend less. So when you are physically more able, all right, and you want to spend more, there would be a risk that you may spend too much, such that you may not have enough in your later years. So that's why, as working for all of us, a budget is important, not only because when we're working, we need to manage our money. All right, even when we are retired, we also need a budget to help us live within our means. All right, because if we spread it out, because we want our retirement savings to spread out over a very long period of time, it could be like 20 years or even 30 years or even longer. So we want to make sure that we have enough money to spend every year, regardless of how long we're going to live. So that's where this, if your parents were retired, okay, I'm quite sure all of you attending attending this webinar is hoping to be able to plan for your retirement. All right, but so put this at the back of your mind that even when you're retired, you will still need to have a budget. So this is where, this budget will be very similar to any other budget that you have. It's just that the expenditure, the items will be very different from most of the people who are working, because you realize that, probably your children has grown up, so you don't really need to spend on kids. All right. And then you probably don't have any more house loan. So you realize that this fixed cost, these are really the essential spending. All right. And you have to stack it out and then to find out how much you can spend on each of these items. So let's say if you have if you have any chronic illnesses, then you realize that your medical, you will have to factor in an amount for medical. So that's why it's important to stay healthy, not only when we are young, but all the way until even into our retirement years, so that we will not spend so much on medical. And if you spend less on medical, it also means that we can have more for other in other areas. All right. Okay, so to summarize, all right, what is the impact on retirement, on longevity, is that as we live longer, we actually will also need more money. All right. And as we grow older, we will definitely have some medical conditions. It's only we try to minimize that, keep it as low as possible, because the cost of treatment is just going to be expensive, and inflation is just going to drive it even further higher. Now, so most important is to keep away from chronic illnesses, because chronic illnesses like diabetes, high blood pressure, these are the ones that you consistently need to review, and you constantly need to take medication, and that is where the medical cost can be very high. So of course, as we grow old, I mean, just like anyone, we do get coughs, flu, fever. I mean, these are minor. All right, we can't help it, but it is to take care of healthcare expenses or to manage healthcare risk is to stay as healthy as possible all the way into our retirement years. All right. And of course, inflation will not just only affect our medical expenses, it will affect also our medical insurance. The premium will just go up, and we can't run away from that. And that is something that we cannot control. All right, because all of us will need medical insurance to take care of the bigger medical bills, and the premium will just increase. So that's why within our budget, we will just have to set aside more for our medical insurance premium. All right. And of course, other than that is our living expenses, our living costs. So inflation, like what I mentioned, this 5 risks, I think inflation is probably the biggest challenge that we have to manage. Okay, that we will face. And of course, investment, the fear of losing money and the sequence of returns, that is what actually drives many retirees out of the investment. But yet investment is actually very important. So later on, I'm going to share with all of you how do we actually approach investing so that we are still able to invest even when we retire, and yet be able to sleep well at night. Okay, have the peace of mind. All right. We can't take away the risk, but it's only how to manage this risk. And of course, if we overspend, then we may end up not having enough savings in the future, and our standard of living may become inconsistent. That means we live like a king during our younger years, and then we have to be very frugal when we grow old, and we do not want that. We want to have a comfortable retirement all the way. And all right, so how do we do that? Okay, now again, all of us know that CPF is meant for retirement. So how far can CPF actually mitigate these 5 risks? All right. So first of all, longevity risk. Okay. So I'm quite sure. I think the government is more concerned than all of us. If Singaporean is because we all know that Singapore is an aging population, right? And we are aging actually at a very, very fast rate. Okay. By 2030, 1/4 of our Singaporeans will be actually age 65. That means 250,000. All right, would be actually age above 65 years old. So of course, and just how you have seen that half will actually live beyond 85, and 1/3 will actually live beyond 95. So beyond 90. So government is actually very concerned. That is why we have this national scheme called CPF Life. And as the name suggests, life means lifelong income for the retirees. So that means this is an annuity program and it's compulsory. This is to make sure that no matter how long we live, we will have a sum of money, all right, until we pass on. So whether this money or not is enough or not, well, that's a different story. Okay, that's a different problem. But we will have some money to survive on. All right. And for healthcare risk, that is where our MediSave account is meant to take care of this area, our healthcare expenses. And for the chronic illnesses and to take care of the chronic illnesses, and then for the bigger hospital bill, that is where our national schemes like MediShield Life and Integrated Shield Plan will help to manage the bigger bills. And of course, for long-term care, should we be severely disabled, that is where ElderShield and CareShield Life takes care of it. All right. Now, then of course, inflation risk. Okay, inflation risk, you may be aware that every Singapore citizen who turn 55, they will have this retirement sum. They will be under this retirement sum scheme. That means at age 55, a certain amount will be transferred from the special account and the ordinary account into this retirement account. And this is what we call the retirement sum. And every year, this retirement sum will increase according to inflation. So at the moment, it's increasing by about 3%. So of course, if inflation is going to be consistently high over the years, then this retirement sum will also increase by the bigger amount of money. So this is to make sure that everyone who turns 55, when they set aside, they will have to set aside more to factor in to manage this inflation, and to make sure that when they turn 65, all right, the amount they can withdraw will still be able to help them sustain a basic standard of living. All right, so that's why that is how CPF manages inflation risk. They will just increase the retirement sum, all right, for every cohort of the Singaporeans who turn 55 every year. And how about investment risk? How does CPF, how does the government or CPF manages investment risk? It's through the interest. All right, we all know that CPF interest is risk-free because it's guaranteed by the government. So the floor rate for ordinary account is 2.5%. And for special and Medisave and retirement account, your CPF interest is at 4.04% now. Okay, so it is to stay also to keep pace with inflation. All right, so 4%, on average 4%. Now, and it's risk-free and it's guaranteed. Now, then how about overspending risk? Okay, then of course, overspending risk has to be closely tied to our CPF life, because the CPF life payout is fixed and it's predetermined to help people plan. All right, to help people plan what kind of lifestyle they can have. They will tell you, say, okay, if you are turning 55 this year, 10 years later, when you retire at 65, this is the amount you can withdraw from your CPF life, or rather, this is the amount that CPF life will pay you. So based on that amount, you go and plan what kind of lifestyle you would like to have. All right, so that is how to prevent you. You can't possibly overspend, because that is the amount that the government, CPF board is giving you. All right, so you just have to live within that $1,000 or $2,000 that you get from CPF life. All right, so that is how CPF, in one way, all right, mitigate this risk. But is it good enough? In other words, can we just depend on CPF alone for retirement? For the payout, okay, so CPF Life will guarantee that you will receive a sum of money. All right, but the question is this sum of money enough? And the next question that is closely in the hearts or in the mind of most retirees or most people who are planning for retirement. Retirement planning is probably, I would say, one of the hardest financial goal to plan, because it is like a moving goalpost. All right, you kick the ball, you thought you'll get into the goal, but then when the goalpost move, it misses. All right, one of the reasons why people according to the last year's survey, 60% of the Singaporeans are not confident to retire. They feel that they will not have enough to retire. And one of the reasons is that most people, when they sit down with a financial advisor to plan for the retirement, from my experience, I used to be a financial advisor as well, and then I concentrate, a big bulk of my clients come to me for retirement planning. And also during my course of work as a trainer over the last 12 years, when I conduct retirement talks like this, one of the common questions that people will ask is, how much do I need for retirement? I'm not sure how many of you have this question in mind, okay? But most people do not know how to plan for retirement, because they don't really know how much you actually need for retirement. All right? So this is where this survey results may hopefully can help you. All right, how much do a retiree in Singapore today need, or how much do they actually spend? So this survey was done across on 100 households back in 2019. And according to the survey results, it shows that, which is logical, those who are retired at a younger age require about 1,700, slightly more than those people who are 65 and above. As I mentioned, as you're younger, you're more socially connected, physically more able, so you tend to spend more or tend to need more. And as you grow older, all right, you actually spend less. Now, so if I just take the average of these two numbers, you'll probably need about 1,500. That means a retiree, in other words, this survey shows that a retiree in 2019 need 1,500 to be able to support a basic standard of living. And a standard of basic standard of living simply means that it's basic lah. That means you cannot afford to like travel like 3-4 times a year, you know, you cannot afford to go to the restaurant for a meal every week, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like really once in a while, you know, you probably go to a restaurant, and then you want to travel overseas, it's probably just going to JB, going to Malaysia. All right, just slightly higher, slightly above subsistence level. All right, that is, so if you imagine yourself, you know, that is the lifestyle. That means most of the time you probably have to cook your own meals and probably eat at hawker centers or food court. All right, and you travel on public transport, you know. So close your eyes and imagine yourself. That is what a basic standard of living means. And already they will need to spend about 1,500. All right, so you imagine, is that your kind of lifestyle? All right, if that is the way you would like to live, yeah, then CPF alone will be enough. Okay, because 1,500 today, if the inflation, I'm a bit more optimistic to say that, okay, inflation will probably just be, on average, will just be 3%. That means in I'm 55 today, all right, and I look at currently people are spending 1,500. That means by the time I turn 65 and retire, with inflation, I will need about 2,200 for the same standard of living. Okay, so that is what the impact of inflation means. All right, the same standard of living, all right, having hawker meals, going to the polyclinic doctors, you know, going to just Malaysia, and you know, occasionally once in a blue moon go to a restaurant. All right, I will need actually 2,200. And CPF Life alone would be able to support that. Okay, however, you will need to top up, because by default, you know, you will need to set aside full retirement amount, but the full retirement amount is only going to give us 1,600 when we turn 65. All right, and you know that I will need 2,200 because of inflation. So that means if I just stay put, if I just fulfill the full retirement sum, which is the default amount, it will actually be not enough. Meaning to say that when I turn 55, I would actually have to top up to enhance amount, because the enhanced amount, all right, would be able to provide me with a payout of 2,300. Okay, so the current full retirement sum is 198,400. All right, so an enhanced means I have to top up another 99,000. Okay, so that will give me 2,300, and that the enhanced amount would then be enough to provide me with a basic standard of living. So now everybody's desired lifestyle when they retire will be different. So however, what we know is that CPF Life, okay, our CPF will only be able to provide us, it's just a bedrock, okay, a safety net, that we won't go hungry, all right, we won't be starved to death, all right, but we cannot have a luxurious meal either. Okay, so that means it's just enough for basic living expenses. So if your intention, if your desired lifestyle is to do something better than that, then you have to layer on with another form of retirement income. All right, which can come from your insurance policy, can come from your money in your bank account, it can from your investment, drawing down from your investment, or if you have extra money, you have a second property from the rental of property, all these going to form another layer of retirement income to support a more luxurious lifestyle. All right. And so how do we live a sustainable retirement lifestyle? That means to have a sustainable retirement lifestyle means that the amount of income that we receive, all right, must be sufficient throughout our retirement years. All right, especially if we know that we will have a fixed amount from our CPF Life. All right, so that will be able to sustain us for a basic standard of living. Now we are talking about a more luxurious retirement lifestyle. All right. So how can we achieve that? Okay, two conditions must take place. Number one, your money must grow at the same rate as inflation. All right, all the way. Okay, whether you are working now or whether we are in retirement, your money will still have to continue to grow. Otherwise, okay, your value of my savings, your value of wealth that you accumulated will be depleting. All right. And number two, you must know how much you need when you retire. Okay, in order to know how much you need in retire, you must know how much you're going to have when you retire. All right, and then I'm going to show you how you can actually calculate. All right, project rather. How can you project what is the retirement? What is your retirement situation going to be like? Okay, now, so most people would think that, okay, so you have to be a smart investor, because we cannot really, okay, to be honest, we really cannot run away from investment. If you want to be able to keep pace with inflation, you have to invest. But that doesn't mean that when you invest, you'll definitely lose money. Okay, investment basically is to help you keep pace with inflation. So a lot of people would just put their money in the bank, especially for emergency fund. Even with your short-term savings, you can put them in places that can give you higher returns other than your cash savings. Okay, other than putting your cash account in the bank, there are instruments that can pay you more. At the same time, they are risk-free, and at the same time, all right, you can still access them anytime you need it. All right, so that is for short-term, your short-term cash, your short-term investment. That means your emergency funds, okay, that you have, that means savings that you have put aside for emergency. Don't put them in your savings account. You can put them into instruments that can give you better interest. At the same time, it wouldn't it doesn't lock away the money. All right. And of course, for your other regular savings, that means any amount that is above your emergency funds are money that you can invest for a longer term. And this amount of money, that is where you can actually invest in places that you can afford to take more risk and able to give you better returns. Because as I mentioned, that studies have shown that in the long run, okay, above 10 years, all right, your investment, if you have invest in the right place, using the right strategy, following our right investment principles, your portfolio will actually make money. All right, but there are certain investment principles that you have to follow, which I will share with you later. All right, now these are the instruments like what I mentioned, which essentially I would say they are not zero risk because they are backed by Singapore government, and yet they can give you an interest much higher than your savings account. One of it is the Singapore savings bond. It's a 10-year bond, all right, on average, okay, over the 10-year period, your interest is 3.32%. Not too shabby. If you compare it against your savings account, this is pretty good. All right. It doesn't really lock away, although the bond runs for 10 years, it's a 10-year duration bond. It doesn't really lock away, okay, because anytime you can actually redeem the bond. That means you can actually sell it back to the government, and you will still earn the interest all the way till the date of redemption. All right, so that means because for emergency funds, the most important thing about emergency funds is liquidity, because that's the whole idea, that in an event of emergency, I need the money, I must be able to have it. That's why it's called emergency fund. So that's the reason why it must be easily accessible. So Singapore savings bond is one of it. The other one that is catching on very popular these days among Singaporeans is the treasury bills. So treasury bills, you have the 6 months, you have the 1 year. So commonly, the 6 month, the latest rates that I got, okay, in just last month is 4%, which is very good. All right, 4.07 is even better than our CPF interest rate, right? And the good thing is that because essentially definitely it's risk-free, because these are all issued by the Singapore government, so it's guaranteed by them. So after 6 months, all right, you will get back the money and get the interest rate. Again, is easily accessible. But of course, the downside of treasury bill as compared to Singapore bond is that, so if you do buy a 6 months treasury bill, and within the 6 months, if you do sell away, then of course you don't get the interest. You only get back the principal. So, but it's still considered liquid because, you know, you will not lose your principal amount. All right, so that is what I mean by you don't get the interest, but at least if you put in, say, $10,000, you still get back $10,000. All right, unlike other investment, all right, you may actually lose the capital as well. So bonds like this, Singapore saving bonds or treasury bills, you don't actually lose the principal at all. So it's principal guaranteed. And of course, the last one will be the fixed deposit. The rate is pretty good as well, but it's just that fixed deposit is still by far the most common instrument. However, the downside of the fixed deposit is that most of the time is you would definitely have to if the tenure is 1 year and you take out the money within a year, again, you get back only the principal amount. You will not get any interest. All right, so it's very similar to treasury bills. And not every fixed deposit will give you 3.6%. Some are much lower. Some may be only just 1.5 or 2%. So it really varies depending on how long you put away, whether is it 12 months, 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months. The longer it is, then the interest will be higher. And the other one is how much you actually put in. So if you look here, they say, oh, fixed D that gives you 3.6%, may actually require you to put away, like, say, 100 or 200,000. Okay, so it is, I would say that among these three instruments, fixed D actually don't really not as attractive as treasury bills and Singapore savings bond. Okay. All right, so these are the three that actually can give you accessibility. That means they're flexible, you can stop anytime, and at the same time, you're not taking any risk at all. And then for your savings, okay, for the longer duration, if you want to invest, all right, then how should we be investing? Okay, so if you actually follow the investment principles that I'm going to share with you, I actually quite confident to say that you won't really lose money. All right. Most important of all is that you have to stick on very, very closely to these principles. Okay. Because if you don't, then there's really no guarantee that you won't lose money. All right. Now, first of all, it all depends on which life stage you're in. Okay. So let's say if you are still working, I will consider you as welcome. If you are still working and you're below age 55 or below age 50, I would classify you as a wealth accumulator because you have a longer runway. Because you're not going to retire anytime soon. Okay, that means you still have time to accumulate wealth. That's where we are calling you a wealth accumulator. That is where you want your investment, you want to focus for the long term, the growth. All right, so you want your investment to be able to, that means you're not withdrawing, right? So that means what is the sequence of return doesn't matter to you because you're just simply going to just keep putting in money and not taking out money. And you want to let you want to let the power of compound interest work for you. So you can afford to take a higher risk because over the long term, all right, the market will actually go up. But let's say if you are really a retiree or going to retire like within the next 5 years, then your approach to investment will be slightly different, or rather your portfolio will be different. How you invest with what you invest in will be slightly different. That means because you're going to retire, so meaning to say that you want to have a sum of retirement income. So then you will want to actually focus more on like bonds and fixed income instruments like REITs, which number one has a lower risk, and number two, they have dividends, they pay out dividends on a regular basis. Because the sequence of return is important, will impact you, then you will need to look for instruments or unit trusts or portfolio that have this structured withdrawal, system. All right, that means you will have to rely on portfolio where the fund manager can help you decide. Say, oh, okay, today, this year's market outlook, how is the market outlook? Okay, then the fund manager with the expertise, they will decide, say, okay, this year you can actually withdraw 4.5%, okay, every month. And then come next year, okay, maybe it's a recession, okay, probably if you want to preserve your portfolio value, you don't want your portfolio, your investment to the amount of money to deplete too quickly, okay, then this year probably can only take 4.2%. All right, so that is what we call a structured withdrawal system. All right, and in the market, are there such unit trusts? Are there such portfolio that pays out dividend? Okay, with such withdrawal structure, the answer is yes. All right, there are quite a number. All right, it all depends on where you want to invest in, and also depending on the cost. All right, so if you would like to know more, okay, do scan the QR code at the end of this session, and you can make an appointment with one of our client advisors, and they can actually guide you to find out where you can actually find this portfolio. All right. Now, however, whether you are a wealth accumulator or whether you're a retiree, when you invest, these are the principles you need to follow. All right. Number one is don't be greedy. All right. If you are looking for a returns of 12%, 15%, all right, then your risk will be superly high. Or it may even be a scam. All right. So look for sufficient return, not maximum return. Meaning to say that if inflation is going to be like, say, 4 to 6%, that means a sufficient return is okay as long as my investment can keep pace with inflation, as long as my portfolio can help me stay rich, that means can give me a return of 6%, that will be enough already. That is called sufficient returns. All right, I don't need my investment to give me 10%. Okay, I just need 6% because inflation is 4%. So if I have 6%, well, it's really, I'm doing pretty well. I'm really doing slightly better than inflation rate. Okay, that's called sufficiency of return. So you have to, because higher the return, the risk will be much higher. Okay, so you have to manage your own risk appetite. So if you are not a high risk taker, okay, most Singaporeans just would have balanced risk. There will be people who like to take a lot of risk and buy into crypto and things like that. If you are in that category of investment, then you just have to bear in mind one thing. You must be investing with money that you can afford to lose totally. All right, that is the result if you want to take high risk investment. Okay, that is the mindset you must have, I would say. This is a mindset you must have. If you want to invest in a portfolio that can give you very high returns, then be prepared that this is the amount that you can also lose away and not blinking at all. That means you must still be able to help you sleep at night. Okay, if you know that if you lose this entire amount of money and you will not be able to sleep, you'll be extremely stressed, that means you belong to a lower risk investor. All right. And the next thing is focus on risk asset allocation. Asset allocation simply means, like just now what I mentioned, if you're a wealth accumulator, you can take on higher risk. That means your portfolio will be in assets, like you'll be buying more shares, okay, in assets that are in instruments that carries higher risk. Whereas if you're in retirement, that means you allocate more of your money into bonds, into fixed deposits, into fixed income that has carry a lower risk. Okay, so that is what we mean by risk. Your asset allocation should change over the years as you grow older. That means you'll be moving from high risk slowly over to lower risk instruments. All right, as you are nearing retirement. Number 3 is to stay invested. That means invest for the long term. Don't time the market. Especially if you are working now, what I will encourage is what we call dollar cost averaging. That means you don't care whether tomorrow the price is going to go up or go down. That means every month you just invest the same amount of money. That means every month just invest, say, $500 or $1,000. You just do that every month. Doesn't matter what is the market going to be like. That is what we call dollar cost averaging, because over the long term, as I mentioned, the market will always go up. But just that you have to stay invested long enough. But if you try to time the market and think that, okay, I want to invest only when the price is low, I want to sell only when the price is high, all right, that is called market timing. then most of the time you will get it wrong. Okay, you may end up buying at a high price and selling at a low price. Okay, so I suggest that you just put in the money, then tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to leave it there for the next 20 years. But of course, you make sure that you invest. This principle will only work. If I think for the long term, it will only work if you diversify. You cannot just buy one stock and say, I'm going to hold it for 20 years. Okay, that is not diversification. In fact, 20 years later, this company may longer be around and you lose all your money. So that means make sure that your portfolio is fully diversified across geographical limit, across different sectors, across different industries. All right. That means you don't just buy into one stock. All right. And can you find portfolio that is fully diversified across? Yes, you can. All right. Again, you can speak to our client advisors who will tell you more about it. And of course, the final, in fact, if you ask me out, these 5 principles, I would say which is the most important. Okay, they are all important. That's why they are up there. Okay, that's why they are up here. These are the 5 most important principle. But what most people tend to ignore is the cost. Okay, and sadly, in Singapore, probably 90% of the unit trust. Okay, unit trust is a good instrument because it's fully diversified. It's very well diversified. And unfortunately, 90% of them are high cost unit trust. What is high cost? Anything that charge you more than 1.5% is high cost. Because most people tend to ignore that. So they go into big names. All right, they go to the banks, they go to the insurance agent who recommend them to buy unit trust. But these are most of the time they charge you 3%. So it's very, very expensive because cost will actually eat into your returns. So let's say if the portfolio can give you a 7% return, but by the time they pay 3% to the fund managers, to your insurance agent, you only left 4%. Okay. And then let's say if the portfolio earns only, say, 4%, by the time they pay 3%, you only earn 1%. That's the reason why a lot of people who invest their CPF money actually don't make money because they get into high cost instrument. So what is low cost? Anything, okay, money hour, we carry actually low cost instrument. But of course, because now we already have removed our investment robo, so you can't invest with us. But if you speak to our advisors, we can actually tell you where to get them. You can go to iFast, you can go to Fund Supermarket. All you need to do is to look at transaction costs. Okay, if the transaction cost is less than 1%, that is the most ideal. All right, or less than 1.5%. So there are such funds. Okay, one of the fund managers you can look out for, you can go and Google and find out where you can get them. Is Dimensional Fund. Dimensional Fund is a fund manager that charges very low cost. All right, and so that is one thing, because cost will eat into your profit. Just remember that. All right. Now, then, okay, how can you now design your own retirement plan? Because like what I say, okay, it's a moving goalpost. So you must first of all know where you will be first. All right. And then you can plan. All right. If you don't even know how much you're going to have 10 years or 20 years down the road, then it's very hard to imagine what kind of retirement lifestyle you would have. And in order to find out where you will be when you retire, that is where you have to, I cannot think of any other instrument that can help you project your future retirement situation. All right. CPF board, maybe they have a calculator. Money Hour is the other one, our comprehensive financial planning platform, which all of you should receive an email for you to activate your account and use this instrument for free. All right. So let's say if you cannot find your email, all right, that is probably we send out probably around March. Okay. If you cannot find it, all right, you can actually write to us again, financialwellness@moneyhour.com.sg, and we will resend you another email for you to activate the account. And you can use this tool all the way up to 15th of December. So if you start now, and then you can make multiple edits, and I will really, really strongly encourage you to use it. All right. First of all, it's free. And if you really want to know, if you really want to know, hey, when I retire, roughly how much I will have, this is the place that this is the only journey you have to go through in order to give you a clearer picture. So once you complete it, all right, it will be a 18, because it's comprehensive. So we don't just talk about retirement. Okay, it's for the purpose of today's talk. That's why I'm emphasizing in retirement. But this report actually tell you all the way from where you are today until when you retire. So when you download the report, okay, basically there will be 18 pages, and you can actually edit this anytime all the way until 15th of December. So anytime your numbers change, or if you do not have the information yet, you go and find out, like, how much is outstanding HDB loan. If you do not know, you go and find out from HDB. Once you get it, in fact, most of this information is available on your CPF website, on your own CPF account. If you just log into a CPF account, you can, in fact, have all this information. Once you enter it and you download the report, the first page, all right, they will tell you broadly there are 3 segments. Okay, the first one is your financial health. We covered this in one of our sessions. You can actually go and review the video, all right, on what is your current financial situation, whether are you borrowing too much, are you financially healthy, basically. And then the next part of it is your insurance. Is there a gap? All right. Again, we have covered this before in one of our sessions. And then if there's a gap, then so we look at your life insurance, your critical illness, your long-term care, your disability income. So these are the 4 areas of insurance that we look at. So you can actually assess whether by going through this journey, you will actually be able to tell whether do you have an insurance gap. So at least if you know that you are short of a certain amount, that is where you can go and look for your insurance agent to top up your coverage. Okay, and for the purpose of today's topic is your retirement income. So it may not look very clear over here. So these are kind of coming to the last few pages, and I actually enlarge it to show you. So it helps you project. So CFP can actually help you project what your future retirement income will be like, and we split that into 2 layers. One layer is your CPF life. The other layer is your existing assets. When it grows, when it's projected at a certain rate of return, at a projected rate of return, how much will that future value going to be? So, and when you want to retire, depending on when you want to retire, where can you, what kind of income you can withdraw, and where would that be from? All right. Now, so first of all, what is your retirement age? This number, you put it in. When you go through the journey, they will ask you, what is your desired retirement age? And then when you get the report, then they will tell you based on what you enter. All right, because all these numbers are derived and calculated from your input. So far, so good. So it's not something that we pluck from the air, okay? It is from your input. All right, we will generate the results based on your input. So that means we'll tell you, say, okay, if you want to retire at 50, you will be able to withdraw 3,004 every month. All right, that is the future amount, future value, 3,004, which is equivalent to 1,007 in today's value. Now, and where do you get this 3,004 from? All right, so first of all, we project based on your current assets, be it your cash in the bank, your fixed deposit, or any investments that you have in unit trust or any insurance policies that you have bought. We will project based on a realistic rate of return to give you the value. Okay, so that means, because if you want to retire at 50, clearly you cannot take out money from CPF yet, right? So that means you can only rely on your other sources of investment. So that means from your investment portfolio, you can actually withdraw 3,004, and you will be sufficient to provide you this amount of money all the way until 65. All right, because until 65, that is where your other investment will kick in. Number one is your endowment funds. This person actually have such instruments. So that is where, so everyone will be different. Yours will look different. Okay, because let's say if you don't have any investment at all, or don't have any insurance policy at all for retirement, then what you're looking at will probably just be the CPF life, which can only start at 65. So if you want to start anything earlier, let's say if you want to start at 55, then you may have some money, then they will tell you what you can withdraw from your CPF as well. All right. So also for this particular case, when you retire at 65, the CPF Life is going to be able to provide a payout of 4,500. All right. And this payout, okay, and this is accurate. I mean, the accuracy is about 2%. That means it's pretty accurate. Meaning to say that, no, regardless of where you are today, all right, this CFP tool is able to help project what your CPF Life draw is going to be. So it's based on, so say, for example, you are maybe say just 35 today, all right, and we can actually help project by the time you turn 55, what is the full retirement sum you had to set aside? And based on that amount, okay, what will be the interest? With the interest accumulated, what will be your CPF Life payout going to be like at 65? And all the other CPF balances, we are able to project based on your contribution. That means your current income. What is your contribution? We can work out what is your contribution. Then we can, and then because you're going to also enter how much you're paying for your housing loan from your CPF, right? So we'll be able to deduct from that. We will deduct the amount. And then we will be able to factor in what kind of interest, okay, the CPF interest you'll be earning. So all these are all curated within the app itself. So it's a very, very complex app. So this app, we actually took us about 3 years to build. So that's why it's given to you for free now. So I think the tools are there. So you owe yourself that duty to do it. Okay, because I can't do this for you. Okay, I can only tell you where to do it, how to do it, and it is available. This tool is available. And all you need is just to spend a weekend, all right, open this app, and then go through the journey. All right. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. All right. That's what I always tell my participants. If you don't take action, then really no one can help you. All right. We can only share all the information with you and provide all the tools that you need. Okay. But you yourself would really have to sit down and do that. And this is the Ask Me Anything session. So if you, after you have done the report, or like what I mentioned, if you want to find out, oh, okay, where can I invest and can give me this withdrawal structure, or you want to find out more about investment, or you want to understand more about your report, okay, you can scan this QR code and make an appointment with our client advisor. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's free. And then you can ask any questions, and then they will be able to help you. All right. So with that, I have come to the end of this topic. So if you still have questions, you can write to us, enquiries@moneyhour.com.sg, and just probably to pay back 2 of the slides. Okay, if you do not have the report, then you write to financialwellness@moneyhour.com.sg. This is the QR code. If you want to book appointment with our client advisors, then this is the QR code. And if you want to find out, don't scan this QR code. This one is evaluation, our evaluation QR code. But if you want to find out like more about anything that you're not clear of this session, you can actually also send out enquiries@moneyhour.com.sg. All right. So with this, I've come to the end of the presentation, and hopefully everyone would have something to take away, and you can all go for your lunch. All right. Thank you very much.